If I recall correctly and have the facts straight, a year ago we were facing a $2 million deficit in the city budget when you took office.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
I think it was more of a $2 million pay down to go after, to use the reserves, to use about $2 million in reserves. So, yes, obviously it was a deficit. We don't face that right now.
Yeah, because this year you presented a balanced budget to the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a turnaround in a year.
Well, you have to say a lot to staff. They understand that council and myself have been very vocal about we need to be conservative, we need to be careful. They cut 1.9 off the budgets, off what they would have requested. So, it's a process where everybody has to work together to protect the common interest of the city. And you really have to, we talked about staffing and do we have the right amount of staff. The staff that we have is pretty doggone good. They do a great job for the city. And that shows in the fact that they're willing to go back to their budgets and look for areas where they can trim. And they certainly have trimmed. So my hat's off to them. They are attempting to accomplish what council and what this city has asked. The residents obviously were not very happy about a $2 million deficit when we took office. They were not happy at all. Staff knew that. Staff stepped up and cut their spending during that year as well. So I think we're doing a good job.
Okay.
And basically it just falls back to staff is looking for ways to cut costs as best as they can and follow the policies that the council and myself are setting for the city. So.
And so let's go into the consolidated tax situation. That's always a fun one.
Yes, it is.
And if I remember right, back in January, Assemblyman Marilyn Kirkpatrick asked for some input from you and council on restructuring the formulas that the state uses to distribute the consolidated tax, C-tax. And if I remember correctly, the C-tax is a significant contributor to our budget.
It's a major portion.
A major portion, about 44% or so.
Right about there.
We didn't hear much about the council and mayor input to Kirkpatrick's request. So talk to us now about, hopefully you've given her that input.
Yes, all of that input has been given to her. We've been working with the other cities to try and find a way to balance this out. First of all, you definitely need to be a rocket scientist to understand how the C-tax formula works.
That's why I'm asking
and I'm
you,
certainly
because
not there.
I can't figure it out.
We've spent a lot of time trying to figure out the basics. For me, myself, I've been trying to figure out the basics. We have a great, our new finance director is on top of it. She's in meetings probably on a monthly basis as we go forward. The taxation board is meeting on a regular basis. We are talking with Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas. We're all in meetings trying to come up with some sort of a way to adjust the formula so that it's not so much up and down.
Okay.
Part of the big problem is it's based obviously on your population. You get a certain amount to begin with, and then whatever excess is there based on population, then it is spread to those who grow. What happens when nobody grows?
Good question.
Some of the plans or things that have been offered are, let's increase the base allotments and make that extra smaller.
Okay.
Let's look at ways to, I know it was offered, I don't know if there's much interest in it at the state level, to go with a more of a, wherever the taxes originated, there should be some compensation for that. The state of Utah has a situation where 50% of your sales tax, just to keep this as simple as possible so I understand it, 50% of your sales tax is based on your population, what you get back from the state, and then 50% is based on what you put in. We have, that position has been offered. Now, to even complicate this further, there's other cities throughout the state.
Right.
Some cities don't want any change to it. Some think it's just fine.
Are we one of them?
No.
Okay.
We're not. We're trying to find a way to get out of the roller coaster ride that is C-tax. Is there a way for zero growth to be held harmless? Maybe just call it zero growth instead of negative growth, where you look at cities like North Las Vegas, absolutely in a whole lot of financial trouble.
And they're the ones that are complaining that they don't get their fair share of the C-tax.
When their base population was set, it was set well below what they're at right now.
And ours is way above, because we've had a population decline according to the state demographer. And I believe the state demographer is the one who sets the population criteria that the C-tax refers to.
That is probably one of the situations that's even more trying than the C-tax for the city of Mesquite. Population is, and I know we're getting off subject on C-tax. We're working.
No, but we are.
But
we are on subject. It's all part of it.
Population is the whole. It is the basis for C-tax.
Right.
We have to do our counts in July.
Right. And I know Kurt Sawyer has complained about that for
absolutely years. And
I would say 100 years, but then he'd get upset that he's not that young.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Okay, well, I'll let that one pass. We have to get this population situation figured out. Our roads obviously are impacted by people that don't live here all the time. Vegas has the same problem. 43 million come into Vegas every year.
Right.
Yet there's no compensation for that based through the C-tax. We have to get this figured out. We have to have some solid legislation that says this is how it's going to be counted. This is when it's going to be counted.
Because to count us in July really puts us at a disadvantage.
Well, 3,000 to 5,000 less.
Yeah. Because of the snowbirds.
Right, and even, okay, fine, they're there for 6 months out of the year, or 4 months out of the year, but their house is still there.
Right.
We still have to protect that home. We still have to fix that street. We still have the infrastructure, all the things that go into owning a home or having a nice community, we still have to pay for.
Right. Yet
we're not getting any compensation for that. So the C-tax will come up with a good compromise. It'll happen. There's some much smarter people than I working on it. And we've met with a lot of them and had great conversations. We've had councilmen meeting with them. The big question for us is going to be that the state demographer and the population counts and how we get to that. And right now we're working with the governor's office, we're working with the Department of Taxation to find a way to find a compromise and possibly change some state legislation to make sure that those things can be addressed.
Because I know Councilman Hafen has said that we've got basically one more year
yes.
of stability with our tax revenue, because this next legislative period, there's a strong possibility that whole formula is going to change, and that's going to impact us significantly down the road.
I wouldn't give it a... Boy, I wish I had a crystal ball to tell me how that was going to work.
Okay.
Until they vote, until the state sits down and says, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're not going to do. I really don't know.
Well, basically, you gotta wait till the last day
Right.
of the legislative period.
You know, yeah. Unfortunately, yes. Brinkmanship is well and alive with our state legislature these days.
Yeah.
Well, what I think in the long-term fix for the city of Mesquite is obviously going to be the population issue.
Right.
We've met with the state demographer's office. We've looked at modeling. We've met with a gentleman by the name of MayorMarkWierInterview07, who's basically been contracted by the city of Henderson and the city of Las Vegas to build a model that includes every single thing that can happen in the C-tax, along with all the cities and all the counties. And we've plugged in some numbers to his. Our population right now, there's about 17,000 is what they're saying at this point. That will...
Well, that's the, let me clarify for the public,
Sure.
that's the state demographer's
That-
number, the U.S. Census puts us at about 15,000.
Right. The U.S. Census puts it as 15,
Okay.
the state demographer says 17.
Okay.
State demographer is how we're going to get the C-tax.
And that's a good point, too, for clarification.
Right.
Okay.
So, right now, I believe the amount that we'll lose in C-tax from the original formula is about $17,000 next year.
That's all.
That's all. We still have our memorandum of understanding that we worked out when we were on the plus side.
Okay.
That, and this shows you how unfair that system is. 2 years ago, we along with one other location in Clark County were the only locations that showed positive growth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on a 5-year rolling average. Our 5-year, we were still going up. We would have been in line for $15 to $20 million.
Wow.
They would have fought us in court had we decided to take that. But, you know, I think at the time, city staff and obviously they came forward and said, this is not the right thing. Could we have, you know, said, yes, that's the law, we take the money? Sure. But that would take a lot of our negotiating abilities in the future away from us.
Who was the MOA with?
The MOU is with
MOU.
all the cities in Clark County and Clark County itself.
Okay.
We had to come up unanimously and decide this is how the money was going to be spent. And to make sure that, you know, Clark County didn't get shorted and everybody else, we stepped forward and said, okay, we're coming to the table, let's work out a deal. We know this isn't fair. We know this isn't right. Let's get this system figured out so that it works, that it's more equitable, and that so that when you're down, it's not killing you. And when
Right.
you're up, and you're the only one up, you're not getting everything. That's not fair. That's not fair for every taxpayer. So we're still working under that memorandum of understanding. We're still going to get a payment from that. So the net loss that I think we're looking at is about $17,000, which isn't horrendous, but it's a loss. So we'll keep working, and hopefully we'll get this whole C-tax thing figured out before the end of the session. But the good news is that all the cities, all the counties are coming to the table, and they are talking, and we'll find the compromise that's going to work out best for everybody, I think.
Okay.
I have some faith in that process still.